All right, hey, this is Brian Gilbert with Daily Dose of Coast. We're delivering Daily Coastal Wow to our subscribers. We're excited to have Joy Dunigan with us today. Joy is from Arts on the Coast, and welcome, Joy.
Thank you.
So, how did you get involved with Arts on the Coast? I've been to a few of those events. They're fantastic, and I know that everybody's itching, like we were talking about before, to get out and see art again. But what's your story? How'd you get involved with Arts on the Coast?
So, Arts on the Coast actually, I have an interesting start with them. I'm really good friends with Patty Matthews and Kathy Hatcher, who are current members of Arts on the Coast. We all happened to be out on Sapelo Island around 2005 and on an artist retreat. And I think it was the final day. We all kind of casually laughing back and forth said, why don't we have an arts organization in Richmond Hill? And I'm almost certain we even said we should call it Arts on the Coast because we're sitting there on Sapelo Island, which is all the islands are inspiration for the artists. Mm-hmm. So they went back and they joined up with a lady named Barbara Estes, who kind of spearheaded the effort. And, fast forward to today, it's headed up by Sarah Volker. I am one of two vice presidents. And so I'm involved at that level, but also got involved as an artist too. So.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. So not only are you involved on the admin side, but you're also an artist. When did you get involved in art or interested in art? And when did it kind of blossom?
Well, I've always been an artist ever since I was born. I mean, I came from a family that was very encouraging of it. My grandfather and my great-grandmother were painters. My dad's a photographer. My sister's a photographer. My brother's a brilliant illustrator. And, so it was always all around me. I knew when I was about 13 what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And didn't realize what I was doing at the age of 13 was graphic design until I actually went to college and went, core curriculum classes and went, I kind of like this graphic stuff, even though this isn't exactly what I signed up initially for. Yeah. And I'm actually pretty good at it and I like to do it. So I pursued it because obviously it seemed like the one trade that you could actually go out and make money at and actually have a creative career in. So that's how it kind of pursued. Now how that kind of, backs into the Arts on the Coast is as we've all started out as young people, starting out as artists, you go to school, you have the job is all pressure. Mm-hmm. But at some point you realize, that it wasn't pressure. So you go back to that. So I started exploring more with photography and things like that. And then that's kind of when I said, okay, I want to not just be involved what I do day to day, but I want to be involved with a group of organization of artists or organized group of artists. Uh-huh. And that's where Arts on the Coast came in.
Awesome. And Richmond Hill, Georgia, obviously where it's based. A lot of talent in Richmond Hill. You guys have a display area. Tell us a little bit about how that happened with the city.
Yeah, so just in the last year or so, we've actually acquired a space in the new Welcome Center there in Richmond Hill. And, the city was very gracious to extend that. I think they realize that there's a place for the arts in any community, and that would be a great place for it because there's a lot of people that are coming through, coming and going and leaving and living also in Richmond Hill that want to be exposed to that kind of thing or have access to it. And that seemed like a great centralized point.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It's right there on 144, and it's very convenient. There's a lot of talent in there. Recently, when I moved to Richmond Hill, I noticed that, your posters are out, and I could tell your graphic design background because they look very good. And so it's just really cool. It's a cool vibe. So if you haven't been, please go to Arts on the Coast. Website is?
artsonthecoast.org.
Okay, artsonthecoast.org. Find out what's going on, meet the artist, and it's just a really, really cool vibe.
Yeah, very inclusive group of individuals. And the thing that's probably the most notable thing and definitely worth mentioning is once you join the Arts on the Coast, that gallery, you have access to it. So it's not a question of having, being an artist, having to go out and find a place. That's what it's there for. I mean, nobody can, once you join the Arts on the Coast, you're in the gallery. So
yeah, awesome. Very cool. So let's go back to you as an artist. And I always ask, creative process. It's so intriguing because a lot of artists arrive there at different ways. So what's kind of your creative process when you come up with an idea? how does that
When
manifest
somebody
itself?
asks me to come up with an idea, it's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of incubation time. I do a lot of thinking and a lot of sketching and a lot of drawing. And I know that seems kind of funny considering that, especially in the graphic design side of things, everything is very technology driven. But you can come up with just as many great ideas or bad ideas with a pencil as you can with a computer.
Right.
So kind of being off of the computer is a bit refreshing because there's no interference with what you're coming up with as an idea. So I typically, that incubation period can be anything from a week to 2 weeks, depending on what I'm doing. It might be even longer. Some of the new pieces that I've been working on as a solo artist, they've been in the works for a while, and finally, I figure out how we're going to do it. So those are work in progress, but that's typically how it comes. And the minute I start with it, it's done, it's gone, I'm on the way, and then I kind of let the process guide from there.
Okay. Yeah, because I think you're probably a little more deliberate than some. Some just kind of get the idea and just go full speed.
I think that comes from having working in an industry where you just have the ability to hone in those skills a lot quicker because you're working on deadlines and you're working with budgets. So you, over time, as a graphic designer, I've been working almost 30 years as a graphic designer. So now you just kind of know what fits into a budget, what fits into a time frame. And then, of course, having all that time and energy and experience, you know how to execute it very, very quickly and with precision and with that very, very little, if no error whatsoever, which is, I think, is probably where the clients really appreciate more than anything, is that they're not spending extra money. Sometimes we come in under budget, which is nice. So we're, under promising and over delivering. We like that a lot.
That's good. That's good for everybody.
Yes, but it doesn't happen in a day. That's something to emphasize to up and coming artists. It doesn't happen in a day. It is a process within itself. And I think if you're a true artist, you're accepting of that, and you'll figure your way.
Yeah. You enjoy the process. It's frustrating sometimes, and those, I think, that are just kind of in it faint-hearted, they give up. But the ones that really, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for a living. Then they kind of enjoy the process. Not all the time, but they do.
Yeah, exactly.
How about fine art wise? What projects are you into now?
Oh, fine art. So, as I mentioned before, I do mostly photography. Is what I've been doing outside of the trade, the marketing side of things that pays all the bills. Always been really intrigued with that, and I suppose that came out of the graphic design work. That I just love creating beautiful images. I don't really care what they are of, just as long as, I keep my eyes wide open and I look. And just recently, in addition to photography, is also exploring what it does from a technology side, but also looking at traditional methods now of things like Polaroids and how that translates back through technology and maybe even through traditional hand skills and assembly and putting things like that. Okay. Some of the pieces that I have now in the current show, High Tide, Low Country, almost take on a sculptural feel, in addition to being photography, in addition to having that very graphic design feel and, atmosphere about them. So those are definitely works in progress. Those are part of those month-long, 6-month-long incubation periods of how does this work? How does this go together? And realizing also a very important side of that, which is the sellability of them. Not that that's the goal, but because I think as an artist, you kind of have to run that road on your own, and you've got to, follow your path and follow your own process. You will get there. But it might take you down a few different paths. But I'm about halfway down the path right now with those. Yeah. But, looking to go bigger with them.
Okay. Yeah.
The smaller ones are working, but the bigger ones those are the ones I'm really, really excited about. Yeah. The smaller ones help me actually get to that point. So.
Well, I approach my work with color first. For me, it's always color first, whether it's something I see or something I'm trying to manipulate. And I noticed with you, color is a big part of that sculptural.
It is.
Of course, the Polaroid is kind of the essence of it, but Yeah, the colors are really, really cool the way they go together.
And after you do it a while, I think it's really interesting. And it is, it's a complete afterthought. It is not necessarily during the process, but I begin to see a lot of the influences, you know, for me. I love some of my favorites, Ellsworth Kelly, Andy Warhol. I love, even the traditionals, Pablo Picasso, Henri
Hmm.
Matisse. The cut paper pieces are just stunning.
Hmm.
And then even taking it a bit step forward, I'm a huge fan of English graphic design. And in fact, that's probably what drove my not knowing I was a
Right.
graphic designer days, but, leaning into groups like Assorted Images, which was headed up by Malcolm Garrett and Casper de Graaf, and then of course leaning into people like Peter Saville. And yes, they were the ones doing these really brilliant,
Hmm.
beautiful, very contemporary album covers for upcoming musical
Yeah.
groups, and even branching out beyond just pop mainstream. They were going into punk, and they were
Hmm.
going into other electronic media, which for me, it's like here comes the perfect synergy of loving to be an artist and then seeing how the technology translates into it. And then for me right now, it's translating it back
Right.
out.
Right.
So you see a lot of different things coming from a lot of different directions. And that's probably what keeps me excited too,
Yeah.
is that I never know really what's going to come out of it.
Right.
But things like happy accidents, you
Yeah.
begin to be more accepting of it. And when things aren't polished and perfect, say it's okay. It's not coming off a conventional press. It's okay
Yeah.
for it to be that way.
Yep. It's really interesting. I mean, a lot of times in my work, when something's not right and I do something to fix it, then actually the fix turns out aesthetically better than what I was trying to do in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's
So
kind of,
yeah,
these
you
things
have
have a
this,
life of their own, and they just try to
right.
manifest itself to where, okay, I can live with that, and I think that's even more marketable.
Right. You have this
Yeah.
vision initially, and then when you get there, it's in that vein, but it is taken on a different shape of its
Yeah.
own. So yeah.
Awesome. So you have a few things. We'd love to see them.
I do, and I just brought along just the photography itself,
Mhm.
because I will never ever stop doing the photography.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to creating just a beautiful image. This is an image that I have been. I don't know how you want to
Yeah, we'll just do it
do
here.
that, but this is one of my favorite places to go is Ossabaw Island, and a big shout out to the Ossabaw Island Foundation. They are one of these places where your imagination runs wild, and you do begin to just very in a creative aspect begin to ask yourself, how did this get here, and how did that, what did that look like 20, 30, 50 years ago. And in this case, these are the gates to the Torrey West Mansion,
Okay.
which, is getting into the Gilded Age. They were once at Bonaventure Cemetery. And when the family moved from there to Ossabaw, they carried the gates with them.
Mhm.
So, this has that old Hollywood film set look. And it was one of those images that I just was out for one of their fundraisers. And when I took the image and pulled it, away and looked at it, I was like, wow, that's how you get to heaven from Georgia, is through the
Through those
gates.
gates. Yeah.
Because it's peaceful and the wildlife is beautiful and the scenery. And they say that when Sandy used to give tours of the island, she would always say, this is the real world.
Yeah.
You can go to downtown Manhattan or wherever the most metropolitan places, but this is the real world.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's obviously black and white.
It is.
Any
And
manipulations or filters, or do you have anything?
well, that's the thing that's kind of interesting about my photography is there is no manipulation. There's no retouching whatsoever. I just shoot. And because again, having been a graphic designer, you want to make the parking lot look like it was freshly paved and all the cars don't have any scratches or smudges on them. That's not the case. I want the imperfections. I want the reality to show through here, and that it's actually just as beautiful as something that has been prepared and manipulated.
Right, and it's a timestamp.
It is.
Because
it very much is.
It's exactly like it was at that exact time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
What else you got?
Thank you. And this is actually a companion piece to it, which is also another image from Ossabaw, which is the the tabby structures that are there that just reemphasizes all the history and everything that goes along with it. And there's always something on that island to be discovered. So yeah, it's another black and white image. Very little, if any, retouching or manipulation. I think sometimes it's like it just wants to be this way,
Right.
So we let it go.
I love the texture in here with the tabby.
Thank you. And very, again, just reflecting on my influences, very geometric. And I even though it's a black and white image, to me, I see this in a very color way.
Yeah, I do too.
With darks and lights and different halftones and
because the path, you have the similar color as the tabby, and it's like a repeating image, and obviously geometric. So very cool.
Yeah. And
then that roof how old is that roof?
Well, these structures have been they've been preserved or historically put back and restored. I don't think restored is the right word, but it's the closest thing to it. So that when people visit Ossabaw Island, they can actually see exactly how the laborers and at one time or another, the slaves actually lived, and to see the conditions and the structures that they lived in with every single day. And again, it's something you step into. It is like stepping back in time, and this is kind of a freeze frame, if you will.
Yep, very cool.
Yeah,
awesome. So, anything's coming up with Arts on the Coast?
We do. We have some upcoming art nights coming up. They are very different from the actual show. So they are meant to happen once every quarter. Of course, this year's been a little different. Have not been able to do that. But hopefully this will be the first one coming up in another couple of weeks or so. And it will be outdoors as well as indoors to try and kind of open the world back up to, the art world did not shut down. In fact, it got more creative than it probably ever was before. With the Photo Point Gallery, we've got the High Tide Low Country show in place, but coming up at the beginning of December is the Holiday Artist Collective, where we'll bring in another 15 different artists. The opening night proceeds will go towards the Ossabaw Island Foundation. So we love to do stuff like that. And and then we'll just keep going with the art nights and the spring shows and the annual exhibit, as long as Arts on the Coast would like to partner with the Photo Point. It's such a successful partnership. You know, we all, I think the artists are left to their own devices to just create. They don't have to worry about organization or anything like that. So we enjoy it. We enjoy putting it together for them.
And then how do people get in touch with Photo Point?
Photo Point, you go to photopointgallery.com. That's where you find out about what the upcoming exhibitions are and what's going on. Of course, both of those organizations are on social media, and you can find them at Deep South Photo Point and also Arts on the Coast.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming down to the city. And I want to thank a few of our sponsors, Bodossi Roofing, also Elevated Coastal Productions. We're here at Sugar City Studios in the heart of Savannah on Johnson Square. So we thank them for having us, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. Thanks, Joy.